Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Hope everyone's getting some good rest. But we're obligated to learn all days of the year, and let's make it really geschmack on this day off. And every day, I'm gonna hopefully do this anywhere between every day or at least a few times a week. Give you a taste of the essence of what makes yeshiva learning, so geschmack, so enjoyable, intellectually challenging, and yet enjoyable at the same time. Lomdus, right, the analytical approach in the style of analysis that's been running in the yeshivas now for the past 100 years. And for today, I'm not necessarily going to go take from any particular book. I look for nuggets from today's nuggets and many more to come are from the Mishmeres Chaim, Rav Chaim Pinchas Scheinberg of blessed memory, the legendary Rosh Yeshiva of Torah Or. So he authored a book that is exactly this. Lomdus, just short, his book fits this forum perfectly, although we're not going to limit ourselves just to his book. But just a quick one or two inquiries with a single, concise but sharp analysis, saying a sharp distinction, a sharp answer. So without the lengthiness, you just get to the essential sharp idea, sharp insight that so beautifully resolves a question and brings clarity and order to something that was previously chaos and confusion. So today's inquiries are actually it's interesting because what we're going to raise today is crosses over to something another forum that another series we're going to start on this great YouTube channel. Channel's great. Subscribe. It's a whole yeshiva education all on one YouTube channel. All right, what we're going to start doing also, hopefully by the end of the week, we'll have launched our first one. We'll do the Rambam's legendary, monumental Sefer HaMitzvahs, Book of Mitzvahs, where he explains what are the 613, why these are they, and why he counted the ones that he counted, and why certain things should not be counted as two mitzvahs. So, the Rabbi Scheinberg's question and sharp answer, sharp insight, centers around a question having to do with the Rambam Sefer HaMitzvahs. It starts with tzitzis. The question is as follows. I didn't want to have it on my screen in front of me. I'm going to say it over in English. I'm not going to read it inside. In the original Hebrew that was printed in. I just want to have it in front of me as bear with me. It's opening up. I don't know why that is. Hold on a second, please. Please bear with me. All right. All right. Look, I remember it by heart, so let me, I'll say it over 100% of my words, even with text in front of me, as I know this piece by heart. It's a classical question that's raised. The Rambam will count the mitzvah of the hand tefillin and the mitzvah of the head tefillin as two separate mitzvahs. And the reason is that, they cannot be all one big mitzvah because the halacha is very clear. If you only have one of them, you put on one. So if you only have a hand tefillin, you put on the hand tefillin. If you only have the head one, you put on the head one. So even though, make no mistake, there happens to be a halacha that if you have two, so let the hand tefillin be put first. But when the head tefillin is on you, that way you're wearing two pairs of tefillin, as the pasuk says, totafos, a ornament between your eyes, So it says by the command of the head tefillin, let them be, implying that you already put them on your hand. So by the time you put on your head tefillin, you have two, you have plural. Let them be a ornament between your eyes. But that halacha of is only in the event that you have both. Put on the hand first, so that when you have the tefillin shorosh, the head tefillin on your head, you have multiple pairs of tefillin. But that's only if you have. Right? All right, but the halacha is very clear that if you only have one, even if it's only the head one, you put on the head one. You put on what you can. So for the Rambam counted the two tefillos, the two tefillins, as two separate mitzvahs, two separate positive commandments. However, by tzitzis, right, he counted the mitzvah of Yod. There's the white strings, and then there's the blue string, the tailor. And he counted them, as one mitzvah, right? And seemingly he shouldn't have counted them as one mitzvah, because we know from this day and age that we don't have the tchelas. At least we don't think we do. Some people think they do. We have the white strings that do not require the blue string. The blue string doesn't require the white string. So why did he count them as two separate million? If they would be interdependent, so it's one big mitzvah, because they need each other. Like two components of the same mitzvah, but they're not. So the white string and the blue string should be, just like the tefillin. Now, I don't think he mentions this, Rabbi Scheinberg, but as I recall from memory, the Rambam is actually bothered. He himself is, wants to defend himself, and says by the wayside, he quotes a statement of Chazal. You might think that, which he interprets to say that the Chazal were asking, you might think as two. They're different mitzvahs, says the Pasuk. They are both called tzitzis. They are both called tzitzis. Both the blue string, when we had it, and the white string, even though they're not interdependent. If you have only one, you do just one, right? Even though they're not ma'aked. They're not interdependent on each other. Nonetheless, they're both called tzitzis. Right? And Ram says, on that basis, I count them as one big mitzvah called tzitzis. What does that piece of poetry mean? So Rav Sharmbek doesn't point this out, but his insight will actually shed light on that statement of Rambam. The Rambam was actually trying to defend his position. Why I counted the blue string and white string as one big mitzvah, they're not interdependent. It's all called tzitzis, right? You would think of anything when they're not interdependent, they should be two separate mitzvahs, not be counted as all one big mitzvah. So, as Rav Scheinberg points out, a simple person would have simply answered, "Well, the tefillin are two separate objects, right? They're two. There's the tefillin of hand, the tefillin of head. So maybe the fact that they're not interdependent is not enough to make it two separate mitzvahs. It has to be two separate actions. No, actually, that's the correct way he says it initially. Then he revises it. So you might say simple. It's two different actions. We first tie it onto the hand. There's a separate action. But that's why it's two separate. It's because two separate actions. Whereas tzitzis, it's one action of putting on the tzitzis. Right? To be more clear, that the mitzvah is actually to tie the tzitzis. You get credit for having tied the tzitzis every time you put it on, but it's all one tying of the tzitzis, because when we have both the blue and white, they're all tied together. So it's one act of tying, right, which you get credit for having tied them every time you don your tzitzis. So it's all one action. And whereas the tefillin, it's two separate actions. Of course, tying one tefillin on the hand, one. So that's what you might think. But he refutes that. That superficial, the differentiation is not a valid differentiation. How does Rav Scheinberg dispute it? He has a very, very clear proof. We say Kriya Shema twice a day, right? Once in the morning, two different actions of saying Shema that are not just two different actions, but also two different times. You cannot do both of them simultaneously. If it's night, it's not day. If it's day, it's not night. And yet the Rambam counts it all as one big mitzvah. The Rambam counts it all as one big mitzvah, right? To say Shema twice a day. How could it be? So you say this different that because it's two different actions. That's what makes it two different mitzvahs. Over here, there's two different actions of saying Shema that can never, even if you would want to, can never be done simultaneously, and still it's all called one big mitzvah. The mitzvah of saying Shema twice a day. So it's all one mitzvah. Mitzvah of saying Shema twice a day. Right? It's all one big mitzvah. Right? So you see, the fact that it's two different actions won't that alone doesn't make the qualification of it being two separate mitzvahs, right? So not being interdependent and being two different actions alone will not be enough to call it two different mitzvahs as per Shema. Because if you miss Shema at night, you're not exempt from saying Shema the next morning. If you miss Shema in the morning, you're not exempt from saying at night. So they're not interdependent and two separate actions, and still called one mitzvah. Right? There has to be another factor over here that we're missing. So Rav Scheinberg says, and in my humble, not that he needs my consent, but in my humble opinion, he's right on the money, right? Because this is like what they call MSA Lasmo. The truth is its own witness, because it is sharp as a whip, and it is just so evidently true. He says you have to look at as it were, the object of the mitzvah. Right? Tefillin, they're two distinct, separate objects. Right? There's the object of the tefillin shoyad, right? And there's the other one is the object of the tefillin of the head, right? Two distinct, separate objects, right? Okay, so because they're two distinct, separate objects, of course, they're two different mitzvahs, right? One is the chefza, the object that goes on the hand, well, the other one's the object that goes on the head, right? Two different ones, right? Two different distinct objects, and they are two different objects. If not just because where they have to be positioned, but they're also written differently. In the Shoyad, it's all one. All the four Parsha Shema are in one big scroll, whereas in the Shorosh they're in four different compartments, so that they are two different objects in every way, shape, or form. Right? So these two different objects, submit to the Paran this object, submit to the Paran that object, because it's two different objects. That's why it's two different mitzvahs. In tzitzis, it's all one object, right? And seems to me clear, even though Rav Scheinberg does not reference this, that's exactly what the Rambam meant to say. That's why I say he doesn't need my approbation. He doesn't need my haskama, because, in my opinion, he has a haskama from the Rambam himself. The Rambam actually alluded to this very distinction that Rav Scheinberg points out, and that is that that's what Rambam says. You might think the Chazal say, you might think the way the Rambam understands the Chazal, you might think it's good for mitzvahs, but the pasuk says, they will be for you tzitzis. They are both called tzitzis, meaning they're both two. Even though each component, they're not interdependent, but they do merge, become the same singular object called tzitzis. And that's exactly what the Rambam meant from that Chazal. They're both called tzitzis. They are both, they merge into that singular object, because that's the way it's supposed to be. You're supposed to have tzitzis that has both white strings and blue strings. So it merges. So it's the same object. So even though there are these ingredients, if you only have one, you'll use the one that you have, but there are two ingredients that compose the same singular object. So now here's the point of delicacy. So let's go back to Shema, right? So the Shema prayer, how are we going to explain that? Because it's simple. You just have to open your mind a little bit to see it this way. You have the three parshas of Shema. We have to say Shema, Vayom Shemoah, and Vayomer, right? The parsha talks about tzitzis and the exits from Egypt. That is the text of Shema. So it's one object, the three parshas of Shema. We are supposed to say the object of the text of Shema twice a day. So again, it's one object, the Shema. It's one object. It's the same Shema. The Shema you say at night is the same Shema you said in the morning. Right? It's one object, and the mitzvah is say this one text. The text is the object. Say this one text twice a day. Say this text twice a day. And so that's the thing. Therefore, with this insight, everything is like everything is so perfectly understood. Everything is so lucidly clear. Right? That the mitzvah is the one object of the text of Shema, say twice a day. Right? So since it's all the same object, that's all. It's one big mitzvah. Use this object twice a day. Tzitzis is all one object, obviously. So that's why tzitzis. Even though it's composed of blue and white strings that are not ma'akiv each other, they do not right. They do not in any way impede on each other. If you only have one, you use only one. But still, they merge into one object. That's why it's just one mitzvah. Whereas the tefillin shel yad and the tefillin shel rosh are two separate, distinct objects. Right, by every account, not just by where they're positioned, but also in how they're constructed. They're two separate objects, and that's why the command to put one cannot include the command to put the other, because they are two different, separate, distinct objects. I think this is abundantly clear. This was Gishmak, and we'll call it here. It's just a quick daily dose of Lomdus. We'll try to do this once a day, B'li but you just get a taste of this good yeshivish learning, this geschmack. Now, stay tuned. Please, well, first of all, if you like this, subscribe, because I'm not necessarily going to do this at the same time every single day. So you don't want to miss a single one of this. It's short, it's sweet, it's sharp. All right. So subscribe to this channel so you'll get updated on this daily dosage of Lomdus every single day, as well as all the many other things that we're teaching here. We teach Rif, we teach Mishnah with the Pirush Rambam, we teach Mar Nevuchim, we teach Kuzari, we teach Derech Hashem. We're going to have also a shir, a regular serial series, and Sefer HaMitzvahs of the Rambam, right? Mesilas Yesharim, and so much more. This YouTube channel is like it's really a YouTube yeshiva. You get a full yeshiva education on this channel. So subscribe so you don't miss out, not on this forum that hopefully you enjoyed. Short, sweet, and to the point, and something good and geschmack you could say over to others, right? But you don't miss out on the other great stuff that we have on this channel. So subscribe now and check out our website. EvanShasiya.com. There's so much good stuff there on our website. Parsha sheets, audios, videos. So check out our website, EvanShasiya.com. But mainly, please subscribe. And if it's not too painful, please like this presentation. All right, take care, everyone. Continue to enjoy your day off.